Start. There we go. Bingo. So we're live. Welcome, one and all, to
Bingo
the
bongo.
very first test episode of the Inept Inquiries podcast.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm here. I go by a lot of names. This guy will probably slip up and accidentally refer to me as Owen. That's not true. My actual name is Niels Bohr. I am the reincarnated version, and my gamer tag is Total Boredom. And this guy, his name is.
I go by Pucked. I go by Waymeat, but my name is Jonathan, bro.
Jonathan. Yeah. So that's the simplest thing. So we were supposed to record
according
this.
to.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say, according to the Starbucks people, my name is like Jonathan or something. Like they cannot spell.
Jonathan what? More than?
Like
Less than?
it's John. It's Jonathan, and they put an F. Oh.
Fan with an F.
Yeah.
An F?
I think they do it for fun.
I think
honestly,
they do it for
fun.
You're right. They have nothing better to do. They're getting paid in sorry amounts, minimum wage. Nothing better to do.
Apparently they make bank.
I mean, probably, yeah. They work at Starbucks. Isn't that all about?
But the training's probably like boring because you get to like make things and people. Dude, I feel like if they do get paid anything, it's just because the clientele is the worst. I need my double mocha super swirled. I need it shaken twice, not 3 times, and then I need you to put it with ice and a little bit of cream on top, and then it has to have a little bit of
literally a mall in downtown Washington, and they're like, "Nah, bro, we need to order this like it's the Ritz." Like, dude, chill. Okay, we were supposed to record this on Thanksgiving, but we didn't because this guy was literally sleeping or something. Or what were you doing?
I was eating like all day, and I think I went surfing. Yeah, that's what I was doing. I went surfing.
By the way, this guy surfs. Just in case you didn't know, you better learn.
If you didn't know, you know me, man. I'm hitting that winter swell up in North Shore.
Yeah.
Getting crazy waves.
So I think the appropriate first topic for this podcast should be, what is the real truth behind Thanksgiving? And as members of the Inept Inquiries podcast, our job is to inquire, to make an inquiry, even if it's inept, hence the name. So what's your theory on the real truth behind Thanksgiving?
I think the only so there's like 2 types of Thanksgiving I know. I know the Thanksgiving of like, you know, they landed and then like they needed help because like the winter was harsh, and then the Native Americans helped them, and then they're like, yo, you guys are cool, let's all eat together. And then they like had a lot of food and stuff, you know. And then the other one is like the one where it's like Thanksgiving's kind of cringe because they like killed them and stuff. But I choose to go with the Charlie Brown Thanksgiving special story, just because because I think it's the most fun because it's like a bird. And I remember in the thing, they like pop popcorn, and then it like pops everywhere. So I think, I don't know my stance on Thanksgiving, but I think the true Thanksgiving is probably most similar to that of Charlie Brown Thanksgiving special. What about you?
I personally believe that what happened is they arrived in the New World on Thanksgiving Day on the Mayflower. They hopped out. They said, "Hey, I'm starving. Can we get a bite to eat?" And you know how slow these ships are? Like, I imagine the Mayflower had been there for like, you know, on the distance, on the horizon for like a really long time. And pretty much every single one of the Native Americans knew they were coming. They look at these guys, they're sailing in, they're all really tired from having to sail for literal months. And here's the thing, the Pilgrims didn't intend to go to Massachusetts. They were literally going to go to Virginia. They had no clue where they were. It's kind of like how when you're driving on, you know, a road trip and your dad takes a wrong turn, but he swears he didn't. And then you end up in like Cairo, Illinois, and you're like, "Dad, where are we?" And he's like,
Cairo, Illinois.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's got like 2. The thing it flexes, it has like 2 gas stations.
It's got 2
like
gas stations.
A special 6 or whatever.
Bro, they've got an actual programmed stoplight. It's like, whoa, okay.
Living lavish.
Insane. Yeah, so that's what the pilgrims did. And then they showed up and they're like, hey, can I get a bite to eat? And the dudes were like, okay, so we've been preparing this harvest for the
Hmm.
winter because this is a special thing. All of the colors are going away. Because that's what it's like in New England, is that the fall is nice
Hmm.
because there's all these leaves and it's all pretty. And you go, wow, this is a nice place. And then winter hits and you wish you were dead. Like completely snowed out. There's nothing to live for. There's no life anywhere. It's like
Hmm.
God himself trying to tell you get out of here, but for some reason they're just like, nah, I'm gonna stay here. Like,
Is it really worth
okay,
that religious freedom, bro?
is it really worth it? That was the ultimate test. It's like, okay, buddy, you can say that you want freedom, but are you actually going to live in New England to get it? And
True.
apparently, they did. So
I think they were just ride or die East Coast, man.
they're East Coasters, ride or die. There were none of those oppressive taxes yet.
However, I think that's an interesting idea, though, when you're talking earlier about how they would have just seen the Mayflower and all the boats just start rolling up on the shore. Like, I'm just imagining they go fishing or something, and they're going looking at the beach, and then, like, on the horizon, they just see this thing coming out of nowhere. I mean, they probably knew what it was at the time, maybe,
Maybe
just because
word travels around.
there was, like, the stuff in,
Jamestown.
what is it, Jamestown, yeah, in Virginia. Like, there were some people, so they might have heard, like, yo, people come in these big things, but I mean, for the most
Yeah.
part, those are probably the first boats they had seen. And like, I'm
And
just trying to
remember,
think like what that would look like.
the whole gimmick is that the Pilgrims landed on Plymouth Rock. They literally crashed their giant ship into a rock. They
Oh
can't sail
yeah,
home. They can't sail home. That's the reason they didn't. That's the reason that they stayed, is that they were like, where are we? We don't know where we are. We're not on any maps. We're literally stuck here. Literally ride or die. Because they can't
yeah.
just go south to Virginia. They don't know where they are. They don't know where Virginia is. And you think that those guys in Virginia care about them? No, they're all smoking or they're dead. And they're just like, okay, whatever. Some pilgrims were supposed to show up, but they didn't. That's an L. So these guys in the Mayflower were just like, okay, we're just gonna stay here. Another thing, the Mayflower Compact. They literally signed a document saying, yo, what if we like preserve these rights? But then
Hmm.
but did they actually apply any table manners? That's what I'm wondering. Is that was the first Thanksgiving? Did they have any table manners like at all?
I don't know. Yeah, you know how your mom's always like, no, sit straight up.
Yeah.
Put the fork on this side. Were they just like, yo? They
Did they
probably
even
ate with their
have?
hands.
Did they even have forks?
True.
Yeah. If we want an original traditional Thanksgiving, you know what we do? We don't have tables or chairs. We just sit on the
Dude,
ground.
that reminds me. Apparently, how you grow corn is you put the corn seeds in a fish's mouth and you plant it.
That's insane.
I
And
don't know where I saw this from, but I think it was like a Thanksgiving thing, some sort of program. And it was like the Native Americans taught them how to grow corn. And he was like, yeah, you just like put some seeds and a fish in the ground and then it helps it grow. And I was like, yo, that's a life hack. I'm going to try that. Never did.
life
But
hack, pro tips.
I wonder if that was real. Also, I looked it up. The Mayflower and all those, they were going at 2 miles an hour.
2 miles an hour. Literally, they could have swam faster than that. Think about that. If they had just been in tag
Yeah.
teams swimming, they would have been faster. But no, they were idiots.
Yeah. Yeah, they just tag team swam. I
Yeah,
think that's pretty
they
reasonable.
should have just done that. Okay, I'm
But that's
irritated.
hmm.
I'm done with Thanksgiving. Let's move on. The second topic that we've got on the blotter: who invented ladders?
Who invented ladders?
Yeah,
I'm
like
very so I'm very prepared for this podcast.
okay,
I'm definitely not.
you're not googling it right now. So
No, I knew this.
while he doesn't Google it right now, what I'm gonna do is I'm going to theorize. Right, I'm gonna
You
put
theorize, and
forth.
I know.
I
Yes.
put forth a hypothesis. Some guy was like, I'm gonna put some sticks together. And if
Hmm.
you've ever been like hiking along and you realize that you could like jump with the sticks, it's like pole vaulting. It's kind of like an innate thing because
Hmm.
humans have a brain processor to identify long sticks. That's why whenever you're a child and you see a long stick, you're like, "Let me grab that." And your
Yo,
parents are like, "No, don't do that. You're gonna hit someone. You're gonna poke your eye out. You're gonna get a splinter." And you're like,
that's because you
"No."
don't know.
My caveman brain says that I gotta grab this
Yo,
nice pointy stick.
stick.
Stick good. And so I theorize that somebody had their kids collect a bunch of these sticks and they're like, why do you have so many sticks? And he's like, I don't know. My caveman brain told me to get all the sticks. And
Yeah.
they're okay. This is like what the middle centuries. They have nothing better to do. They're bored, right?
Hmm.
They just start lining the sticks up. They start making shapes in the ground with them, right? They don't even know what these
Mm.
shapes are called, but they're like, okay, if I
Mm-mm.
make these go together in a line, but this isn't a line. I think that they made the ladder on the ground, and then they were like, whoa, that's kind of crazy. Because here's the thing: if you actually look at the Pueblo culture in North America, they had ladders. It wasn't just a European thing. I'm pretty sure that all native cultures were able to, put these wooden things together and interlock. Because if you look at how to make an axe, what you have to do is you have to hollow out a hole in the wood and put the stone in. So I'm pretty sure someone did that, but with
Hmm.
wood. It's kind of like in Minecraft.
Yeah.
Ladders are one of the simplest things to make. You just put a bunch of sticks together.
Yeah, I think someone really just got 7 sticks,
Yeah,
put it on a 9 by 9 grid on the ground, and went, "Yo, wait, this is a ladder."
yeah, that's probably what happened. They literally just took
Probably.
all those things, they put them together, because you don't even need ropes technically, because the Pueblo culture in New Mexico, they
Yeah.
just put them in. They just like,
I mean, yeah, you could probably do it with like if you put holes through it, and then it's just like
but that's
what's
kind
it
of
called,
gonna splinter and break. So
rods and stuff. Yeah, that's kind of risky though. And then you also have to like it's so painstaking. I know to like cut
yeah,
holes, especially if you just have rocks. You're literally just like picking at
but I
it
mean, what
with
else are you
like.
gonna do? You don't have the internet. You're a
True.
pre-industrial
There's
civilization.
no gamer girls. There's no Minecraft.
Yeah,
There is nothing.
there's nothing.
You can't do
And I think
nothing. No.
actually it would
I
be
mean,
very attractive to women to have a ladder, right? Because it's like
mm,
you can go up and grab apples. You can grab animals out of a tree. Like, what kind of bird is
ooh.
going to expect you to just climb up into the tree with a ladder and take its eggs? Think
I
about
think
that.
it would just submit at that point.
Yeah, it's just like, what? I've never seen this before. And that's why humans are on
He
top.
goes, "You win. You win."
You win, you win. Just take my children and me, and then bam, right? What girl isn't going to go with the guy who just got some omelets in KFC? Think about
I
that.
think it's attractive because there's like a thing where it's like, oh, you've got to be 6 foot at least if I'm going to date you. You can literally alter your height. Like,
Exactly, exactly.
look at me, I'm 8 foot. Look at me, I'm on a ladder. And
On
then
the
you know what
ladder.
happened? Someone took 2 ladders and they walked around with them, and that was stilts.
Whoa. They invented stilts and they were like, yo. And I imagine they got massive play. Insane.
Dude, I think that's what I need to do. I think that's what I've been missing. I need some
Okay,
bomb stilts. Let's
but
go.
it's not impressive anymore because there are
Yeah.
just, regular people who are regularly tall. And also, think about how many like doorways you have to enter. It's not practical to wear stilts anymore. Back in the day when there's no
Yeah.
doors, then whatever.
Yeah.
But nowadays,
Mm-hmm. You want to know how ladders actually were
okay, what's
made?
the
Do
actual
you want to know who
truth?
made them?
Yeah.
I mean, so there's two. There's two different versions. There's the modern ladder where it's got like the hinges and it folds. It was
Hmm.
made by this guy named John H. Baisley of Dayton in
John
1862.
Baisley. 1860. Wait, during the
Whatever.
Civil War,
Yeah, that's the modern foldable.
a guy
The
made
one you've got in your garage.
what? In the Civil War, this guy was like,
Yeah,
okay, I know that we're fighting for, the soul of the country, but I want to make a really good way to get tall. Like, huh?
I think he was British
Oh, okay.
because
British.
it's from BBC.
Oh
I
yeah, it's
mean,
probably a
I don't
British
know,
guy.
probably, but who cares?
Yeah,
Honestly, we made Britain.
honestly true.
But this is like the actual historical thing. So no one really knows when the ladder was invented. However, in Valencia, Spain, in some caves, they found a Mesolithic rock painting of a ladder that's 10,000 years old. It shows a painting of two men using a ladder to access a wild honeybee nest, just
Bro,
like you said.
I literally predicted. I made ladders. That's me. I invented ladders.
I think you just had like a brain connection with
I just had
that
a brain
that
connection.
rock man.
10,000 years old. And maybe those
Brain connection.
yeah, maybe those cavemen, they just wanted to share some honey together.
You want
Cuz
to know why it's called a ladder?
why?
Old English word ladder,
Later.
meaning steps, which derives from the Old German letara and the Middle Dutch ladere. The modern term ladder has evolved from these words to refer structure with steps or rungs.
Is there like a Latin precedent?
No, it looks like it's a Germanic
It's
one.
just a Germanic word. So the Germans
Yeah,
invented ladders.
I think that's. I mean, that is an interesting thought. Someone invents the ladder, and someone invents ladder, like the word.
Clatter. Clatter. Yeah, that's
He might
insane.
as well have just invented ladder because it could have been his last name, and now everyone knows him.
Yeah, maybe he's famous and we don't even know.
That's popularity genius. I'm gonna name these like chair things in like parks, but I'm gonna like call them my last name. That's gonna be crazy.
That's crazy. Okay,
That's crazy. I think I should do that.
next question that we've got. I think this will probably be the final one because this is only a test episode. Why are buckets
Yes.
round and not square? Think about it, because like square buckets would be so much easier to make.
Genuinely, because like so, the reason I thought of this was back in Ohio, on farm. You carry buckets of feed to the cows, right? And it's round.
Yeah,
And when you round, you know how it's got points on all sides technically because that's like how circles work. They've always got one point
yeah,
on the outermost edge. I was thinking when you walk with it, it always hits your legs.
exactly,
But
exactly.
if you had a square bucket, it would just rub against your legs on the side and it wouldn't bounce off to the side when it hit it. It would basically go with your lateral, like forward movement.
And then also, if it's square, wouldn't it just be like, I don't know, you could use it as a step stool, you could use it as like a stool to sit
No.
on, you could just use
Mm-hmm.
it for more. Versus like, I don't know, a
Yeah.
round bucket just seems cringe. I'm thinking of like a metal sheet that you just have a bunch of times and you can fold it and then you've got a bucket. Versus like the
I,
actual buckets which are like all you have to fold them and get a blacksmith to do it and that's just so much work.
One thing I'm thinking of is I remember seeing this thing where basically you have cannonballs, right? And they're stacked in a certain way and they were made a certain way because it's like it takes up the most amount of space,
Yeah.
but still they're individual, the stacking circles in that manner. But
Yeah.
it's like maybe it's like that. So if you were to fill a bucket with oranges, the square one might actually not use the space as efficiently, like on average, than the circular one.
So that's actually the truth. So the thing about calculus, and I know this sounds really ridiculous, is that the way calculus works is that you use the smallest possible circles to cover the maximum area, because circles are,
Yeah.
by their definition, the most area within a given radius. Because you
Yeah.
basically say, select a point and then go all around the point 360 degrees to the maximum possible effect.
So by default, it's going to be
It's
the
the
most efficient.
biggest, most efficient amount of space. But it also is like so hard to make them efficiently because you have to literally bend them in this circular form. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
But that makes you wonder, like a bucket. You could also look at it from like the idea of like how was it created? Maybe it became round because it was round before in its previous form. So was it people made baskets, or because you didn't really make square things? Because if you were folding it out of reeds, it would naturally become more of a round shape.
Yeah.
And then to make a square thing, that just required hard edges, and that just didn't work. So maybe it kind of filled the necessity, but with plastic or metal.
Ooh,
You know what I mean? And it
that's a good
evolved
point.
through circle. But maybe there's an opening in the market for us to make a square bucket
Square
because
buckets.
I could see the world's geometrical, man. Like I'm
It is.
talking.
It's like an aesthetic. People don't want efficient. They
Uh-huh.
want something that looks pretty.
Maybe not even looks pretty, but like Legos,
Yeah.
those aren't round for the most part. They're blocks,
Yeah.
right? It's really easy, like building wise. Like if you're in a house and you're renovating, a circular bucket, it's kind of awkward. But if you got a square bucket that's flush with the
It's like an
wall,
aesthetic. Yeah.
it just fits. I think
True.
that's
True.
something we need to look into. We
Look
should
into
call it like some Chinese manufacturer.
patenting.
We should,
Okay,
we should call it square bucket.
that was a surprisingly quick conversation because we figured out exactly why they're. So last one, I think that we're gonna do a bit of a debate on this one. I don't know if it'll be a debate.
Okay.
Cereal,
Yeah.
milk. What's the order? Milk, cereal, cereal, milk.
Okay. What stance would you like to take first? I'll give you the benefit of the doubt, and I'll argue for the other one.
I will go with milk before cereal. I don't personally subscribe to that theory, but I think that it
Yeah.
would be more challenging to argue that.
More challenging, yeah. You'll give me the easy one because you have the prowess, of course.
Yes, of course, indubitably.
Indubitably.
Okay, so this is quick debate. I say milk before cereal because what you get is the cereal gets to float, and there's like this aesthetic of floating cereal.
Mm-hmm.
and it fills in more efficiently because you have, the already predetermined amount of milk in the thing, and then you pour. Because I feel like whenever you do cereal before milk, you don't know how much milk you're actually getting, and then at the
Yeah.
bottom, it's just a bunch of like slightly damp, but not damp, but like not
Mm-hmm.
actual milk. Versus, I feel like if you pour the milk in
Mm-hmm.
first and then the cereal, you know exactly how much milk you have.
Yeah, I get that. Now, I would argue you're taking the idea that this way you can gauge the amount of milk. When you think of cereal, what is the namesake? The cereal is not bowl of milk with stuff putting it in. It's a bowl of cereal with milk added to it. And how it works is you always have an underlying cereal. Sometimes people, this is just for the sake of the argument. Sometimes people eat cereal with water or orange juice. It's weird. There are some rare cases, but this constant is the cereal. You don't put like chocolate bars in milk and then eat it out of that. The constant is the cereal, right? And it's also the namesake. So it just only makes sense that you would start with the cereal, the actual like calories, the like main, the main thing you're getting, and then you add like the substrate. I don't know what the right word would be, but then you add the soup to it, you add
Yeah,
the rest.
you add
Because
the
it's
rest.
French onion soup,
It's a
You
molecule.
put French onions in, and then it's soup in the background.
So you're saying that there's a primary element, the cereal, for which the
Yeah.
dish is named, and then everything else
Yeah.
is added onto that. And I think
Yeah.
that's a
Yeah.
really good point. But on the other side, I'd like to point out that you are adding something, but you selected it ahead of time. I don't think it's really a fair comparison to say like adding on condiments because I think the two are linked in a very specific way.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I feel that like there's a satisfying like amount of I think it ultimately comes down to which you prefer like as the highlight of the meal because even though it's named cereal,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's not bowl of cereal with
Mm-hmm.
milk. If you find that like having the milk in the cereal is the best part, like you enjoy the milk,
Yeah.
you enjoy the taste of it, then pouring the milk before a cereal makes sense. Versus if you've
Mm-hmm.
got like a really great cereal and that's what you're focusing on.
I feel like at this point, I want to veer off from us arguing about it, and I want to give like just a full like introspective like position.
Like on the
It's
psychology.
like you said, it's what you want from the cereal. You know what I mean? If you're lactose intolerant and you can't have a lot of milk, kind of like me, I mean I don't pour the milk first, but I actually might start doing this because then I can actually see how much milk is going into it. Because then when you eat all the cereal, you're like, I have to drink the
Yeah.
milk
If you're
because you
one of
don't
those
pour it down the
guys who
drain.
just pours in a ton of milk, then yeah, what's gonna happen is that you're gonna pour in the ton of milk.
See not, know not. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like
Like
the
ignorance is bliss. If I don't see the milk, it doesn't exist. It just tastes good, and then I'm like, oh crap, there's a bunch of milk here. And then I try to like figure out like, oh, if I pour for
what
a
do you do with
second,
it?
it's just
Yeah.
enough, but
Yeah,
not
yeah, that's
exact.
such a good point. Is that you'll actually have this dilemma of, okay, do I have so much milk left over that I should pour more cereal, or if you've got enough cereal left over,
Mm-hmm.
do you pour more milk? And I feel like that's just weird. So the ultimate decision is to get like the specific amount, because I feel even if you pour the milk first and then the cereal, well, you're gonna get less cereal unless you have it like carefully
Yeah,
measured out. Because what you're
that would
going to
be
worry
cool
about
though.
is that you add too much and then the milk overflows. Like if you're one of those guys who looks at it, says, I'm going to pour 3/4 of this bowl full of milk, then what happens is
Mm-hmm.
that when you add in, theoretically, half the bowl's worth of cereal, then you have
Yeah.
a fourth of milk over the top. But also, if you pour in like just a small amount of milk, then it looks weird.
Mm-hmm.
I think another psychological aspect is that you try to think of the milk as if you're drinking it, right? Because how much milk do
Uh
you
huh.
pour into a glass when you pour milk in a glass?
Mm. So you're trying to gauge how much of it will you drink afterward?
Yeah. Are
Maybe
you
you're
somebody who
thinking, yeah.
drinks
I
the
mean,
milk afterward?
good factor. Generally, yes. Like 99% of the time I am. But if I'm having like a bad stomach day and there's
Yeah.
a bit too much milk, I might flip it into the sink. Who knows? I mean,
Yeah.
it depends. But
Do
I
you
think another weird way to look at it is what if rather than looking at the cereal and the milk specifically, you pour your milk based on the leftover milk. I'm saying you pour the Cocoa Puffs, but you pour just enough milk to where it tastes chocolatey, but then it's not too watered down, but then there's like actually enough for like a nice big gulp.
that is
What
very
if that's
important.
what you could look
Like when
for
you
in it?
have Cocoa Puffs and stuff? Yeah.
That's a defining factor of how much milk you should pour and what I mean, I guess the order is based off of how much you want because it's easier to gauge the amount of milk if you go that first or the amount of cereal if you go that first. But I feel like that's another contributing factor. It's like how much leftover water do you want and at what potency or milk, sorry.
Yeah. So that's a very important I think that that's a really good point. Is that like how much are you intending, especially with things like Cocoa Puffs, where like the milk mixing in with like the powder or whatever is on the cereal creates this
Hmm.
aftertaste. Now, my question to you
Yeah.
is, when you drink the milk, how do you drink it? Do you like scoop it up by a spoonful and put it in your mouth, or do you just like
Mm.
pick it up and drink it?
Generally, I find the spoonful method is it's inefficient. It's kind of like when you're eating, kind of like when you're getting like leftovers or you're trying to get the bottom of the thing, but the way that it's shaped, you basically can't always get a full scoop and there's a little bit left. You keep going. It's kind of like when you've got a drink and you're trying to get it out the bottom, but you can't quite get it all, or it's a spray bottle. I think that the best way to make sure you got all the milk is just to lift the bowl and glug. You know what I mean? Like chug jug it. But if you use the spoon, I can understand how some people might like that because it's something to do with your hands and your mouth as opposed to just, okay, I'm done, let me drink it and put it in the dishwasher. But I think it's just inefficient and it's just drawing it out. And I feel like that comes from somewhere else, like psychologically.
Yeah. Okay. Well, this has been a very good discussion. As a test episode, this is pretty good. I'm going to review the footage, check it out.
And I have one last question for
Yeah.
any viewers.
Any viewers?
And this is also for you. Just quick answer. What order do you eat your Lucky Charms? Do you eat the cereal first, leaving the marshmallows? Or do you pick out the marshmallows, then eat the cereal? Or any
Ooh.
other combination of patterns you would do with it?
I try to do an even amount because I feel
Mm-hmm.
like there's sometimes where you eat the Lucky Charms and they're like stale and they're like brittle, like a crunchy Lucky
Yes.
Charm. Versus the cereal you can always depend on to be like a bit gooey, a bit soggy. Not like super soggy, but
Mm-hmm.
still dependable.
Mm-hmm.
So I try to get like an even amount of like one
You
cereal
try to
bit
mix
for
flavor. Yeah, yeah,
marshmallow.
yeah.
Yeah, for like a balanced texture. Because I don't know,
Okay.
I'm a bit like I want there to be an even amount at the end. I want there to be
You
like
enjoy it as intended.
a fair amount. Yeah, I don't want there to be like just marshmallows at the end, but I don't also want there to be just cereal bits at the end. I don't know. I
For
haven't had
me,
them in a while.
for me, it started off as I picked out the marshmallows. I got yelled at like once or twice, and then I discovered you could eat all of the other stuff, then eat all of the marshmallows, the fun part. So I would get the sucky part out of the way, and then just have fun.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't really mind either part, but okay.
Yeah.
Well, so you guys in the comments below put down how you eat your Lucky Charms. And this is Owen and Jonathan from Inept Inquiries signing off. Have a good day and stay bored.